The world just hit a population of 8 billion people. That's a whole lot more than what was on the planet only 100 years ago. But while the overall population of the planet is still growing, it's not equalized, as some nations are losing population or are about to. What's behind this trend? And what are the most vulnerable nations? Let's find out. Humanity has been evolving for thousands of years. Through that time, the Earth's population has been slowly growing. However, it hasn't been a smooth ride. For the first 1800 years of the first and second millenniums, humans were vulnerable to many threats, including harsh living conditions, death by wars and unrest, and death by now treatable viruses and bacterial infections. One of the most significant and abrupt decreases in human population in history occurred during the Black Death, which was a devastating pandemic that swept through Europe, Asia, and North Africa in the 14th century. The Black Death was caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, which was transmitted through fleas that infested rats. The disease spread rapidly, and its impact was catastrophic, leading to widespread death and social upheaval. The estimated death toll varies, but it's believed that the Black Death may have killed between 75 million to 200 million people across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Some regions experienced mortality rates as high as 50 to 60%, leading to a significant reduction in the overall human population during that time. Since then, while there have been some deadly pandemics and other threats that created depopulation, the trend has been upward. Since 1800, the world population has increased from 1 billion people to an estimated 8.1 billion people as of 2024, an 800% increase in 224 years. The main reasons behind this were associated with the already growing population in industrializing Europe, coupled with medical and technological innovations that progressively started to prolong life. In the last 50 years, however, there has been a slowdown and stagnation in population growth in certain nations, leading to concerns about an impending population collapse. In this week's episode, we are going to review this trend. First, the nations that are the most vulnerable to population collapse will be examined. After that, we will go through the main reasons why these nations are seeing population issues. Finally, we'll talk about if trends seen in these nations will affect currently growing nations in the future. Before we begin, if you enjoy learning about geography and earth science, you found the right YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home. Let's get started. The nations that have seen population stagnation or decrease in the last couple of decades share some things in common. For one, almost all of them are post-industrial nations, characterized by a shift from an economy based primarily on manufacturing and industry to one focused more on services, technology, and information. Coupled with this, these nations generally have higher death rates than birth rates per 1,000 people, meaning internally they're shrinking. The other similarity is that all the nations are located either in Europe or Asia. Japan is often considered the most at risk from a population collapse. Although it's the 11th most populated nation with 125 million people, its death rate is nearly 12 per 1,000 people and its birth rate is 7 per 1,000 people, while its total fertility rate is 1.43 children born per woman. Projections show that by 2060, Japan will have around 87 million people. South Korea, an oceanic neighbor of Japan, has similar statistics. With a death rate of 7.3 per 1,000 people and a birth rate of 7 per 1,000 people, and a total fertility rate of 1.11 children born per woman, the second lowest in the world. Right now, the nation has 51 million people, but projections show that it will shrink by the millions in the coming decades. The Asian island nation of Taiwan has 23 million people currently, with a death rate of 8 per 1,000 people and a birth rate of 7.3 per 1,000 people, and a total fertility rate of 1.09 children born per woman, the lowest in the world. The population king of China, with 1.4 billion people, is starting to see a downward trend, with birth rates evening out with death rates and lowering total fertility rates. Considering that China has one of the largest GDPs in the world, this trend could spark concern, as the lessening population will mean a shrinking economy. Some projections show that by 2100, China may fall below 800 million people in population. Onto Europe, several European nations are seeing population concerns. Italy is the most prominent example. In recent decades, death rates have been rising and birth rates have been decreasing, with a current rate of 11.3 per 1,000 people and 7 per 1,000 people respectively, and a total fertility rate of 1.24 children born per woman. In addition, Italy's population is rapidly aging, with the nation having the fourth highest median age in the world. Without a growing tax base from young individuals, this means that there may be a further strain on the already troubled Italian budget, as more older individuals will need medical care. Germany, the second most populated nation in Europe with 83 million people, has birth rates of 9 per 1,000 people and death rates of 12 per 1,000 people, and a total fertility rate of 1.58 children born per woman, so internally they're shrinking. Eastern European nations have seen significant population reductions. The Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, along with Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, all have death rates exceeding 10 per 1,000 people and exceeding birth rates. In addition, these nations have also seen mass emigration, especially since the Cold War ended in the early 1990s, leading to a shrinking population. And Ukraine, amid a war with Russia, has seen a considerable population decrease in the last couple of years. The reasons behind population decreases are mixed, in that there are a variety of factors. The most obvious one is the demographic transition within these nations, in that virtually all of them are in stage 4 of it, signifying higher death rates and lower birth rates. This trend will affect all stage 4 nations, but the ones mentioned are seeing current impacts. Another reason is economic factors. Economic pressures such as high living costs, housing expenses, and job insecurity can discourage people from having larger families. Italy and Japan are two examples of this, as many younger individuals are opting to get married later and have fewer children, or not get married at all and have no children. If the latter is a more common occurrence, a population collapse is imminent. And related to this, there are changing societal attitudes towards marriage, family, and individualism that can influence family planning decisions. Cultural shifts and evolving perspectives on traditional family structures contribute to changes in fertility rates. Not all of the reasons are associated with birth and death rates. While death rates are higher than birth rates in Eastern Europe, a larger factor has to do with emigration. After the Cold War ended, these once former communist nations became democracies. And while communism did have negative consequences, unemployment under it was lower and people had jobs. But this ended with these countries becoming flash democracies. Thus, thousands upon thousands of Eastern Europeans emigrated to Western Europe and the Americas for more job opportunities, ultimately leading to population decreases. And finally, related to migration, East Asian nations have limited to no immigration. With internal dynamics favoring a shrinking population, having little immigration will eventually decrease the population. While certain nations currently are seeing population decreases, others are still seeing increases. In the near future, it will. However, in the far future, it's questionable. The continent that is seeing the most population increases is Africa, thanks to lowering death rates and skyrocketing birth rates, as well as high total fertility rates. Through the 21st century, Africa, along with other industrializing nations, will continue to see population growth. However, some population projections show that by the year 2086, the world will hit a peak population of 10.4 billion people and then start to slowly decrease. If this decrease is progressive, the world may lose population in the 22nd century. Will 22nd century reduction in the population be a good or bad thing? As always, there is debate about this. with some seeing a decrease as a potential threat to humanity, while others say a decrease will help the Earth in terms of using less resources, thus decreasing the risk of environmental issues. I, for one, am neutral on the matter, but I'd love to hear your opinion, so please leave your feedback in the comment section below. That concludes this week's episode. Thank you once again for watching my video. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more interesting and interactive videos on geography and earth science. Until next time!